Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Hello, gatekeepers. Can you guys hear me? 5-5. Can you hear me, Steve?
Can't hear a word.
Can't hear a word. All right, hold on. Oh,
I can
really?
hear you. I can hear you. I'm just messing with it.
My laptop updated, and I don't think my drivers are recognizing the road, so to speak. You
Now
know what I mean?
the Chromebook that I normally use, it did something screwy, and I couldn't get it to go
Man,
either, so
man,
it
man.
updated.
Five
So
five here.
I'm using my iPhone 14 Pro Max, so we'll see how this works.
Are you kidding me? Says yes. Glenn says 5x5.
Yes.
AJK
Now,
five by
you know
five.
she is the
Salvador 5
Greek
by.
Elvira.
Yep. Say what now? Who was what? You glitched out
Are
on me,
you
kiddo.
kidding me? Is the Greek Elvira.
Oh, fantastic. Hello, all you wonderful, wonderful people. Boy, I'll tell you what, we had fun last night, Steve. We did Dracula.
I don't know where the camera is on this thing. I think, yeah, it looks like it's over there.
You look like you're doing good. When you're every once in a while you glitch, and I'm having microphone issues. If I sound like further away than
Well, that
usual, I'm not
that's in
real
real
sure.
life. I actually live in real life.
You actually did what in real life?
I glitch in real life.
Oh, you glitch in real Don't we all, honey? Don't we all? So how you doing?
That's why all the pictures of Bigfoot are blurry. Bigfoot is a blurry creature.
Yep. There you go. There you go. I've got pictures too. You know what we're doing tonight? Look here. Woo!
Who, me?
Can you see her?
Witches, I think. There we go.
I think there you see her. There she is. Woo! She's hanging on for all she's worth, man. I thought this was real pretty. Look at this. That's about how I feel right now. I just jumped right from fall. I mean, right from summer into fall. Just without a parachute or nothing. I just bam. So screw
Are
it.
you
I'm not
kidding
leaving.
me? It's getting there. It's having a bad beard day on the sides, but the length
Sam
is
Smith,
getting up.
how you
I have
doing?
to
I'll
put
say hi to everybody here.
bones in it
Sue,
or
how you
something.
doing? Linda,
Let's
how
see.
you doing,
Dennis
sweetie?
is here.
Susan Wood Carver.
AJ, Tasha Bell, Ted Branston,
Beautiful Maraid. How you doing,
Ann
darling?
Smith. Hey, there's Maraid. I did a FaceTime with Maraid. Was that this morning or yesterday? I don't know. It all runs together after a
This
while.
morning or yesterday.
She's
Ted
helping
Manson's
me
throwing
with
out the
a
bacon.
really cool story coming up.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, you were telling me that is awesome. You go, mermaid, or beautiful mermaid. Now, listen, we haven't had to bake some shut the fuck up cakes for a while, but don't let that. Hey, Chris Jarvis, how you doing, darling? Don't let that get you out of. Keep your finger on that blue wrench, everybody, because you never know when the zombies are going to come over the wall. You guys are doing a great job. I had nothing to worry about. This chat's just wonderful. Last night we did Dracula. Tonight we're doing witches. Basically, that's such a broad brush, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But Steve and I bumped into one or two of the kind that you don't want to bump into. That's for sure. To each his own. But
You've
boy, I'll
got
tell
some
you
good
what.
witch stories there, like
Uh,
the disappearing shop and all that.
oh my
I
gosh,
want you to tell that one.
I'll tell it. I'll tell it. Um, yeah, phew. You don't want to get in between a battle of two witches on Halloween. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah,
Um,
witch.
You
And
know,
Bugs Bunny says they're all witches at heart. So
there's a little witch in all of us, I think. But so we're going to do a little bit of that and welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, everybody. So we're going to talk about the big Halloween here coming. Some old rattlesnake I know has a birthday right smack dab in the middle of that day. So Halloween is Steve's birthday. So we always do something fun for Steve's birthday. Is it raining, Steve? Is it raining, man? What's
no,
going
it's the
on?
sun. Even the sun's coming in there, and then I can't
Is
see
it?
the
Is it
screen.
getting
So
you?
I'm gonna.
So we're thinking about doing something, maybe a simultaneous live stream or something along those lines. Because I hear
Yeah, well,
Sandy by the truckload,
we'll have figured out.
and we'll tell some ghost stories and go trick or treating, dress up, start planning your costumes now so we can dress up for Halloween and do a live thing. Maybe even call in with some ghost stories and stuff like. Who knows what'll happen? But we are going to listen to Cabin 22. Those 5 days are going to end right on Hell Night because that's what
Cabin
night
22, Innocent Fire, no less.
we're going to listen to that in 5 days. So that's probably good hour and a half a night, I guess, something like that. I guess it would have to be a little bit more. But so we're going to listen to that live. If you heard it,
13 past midnight, Sandy and I are doing the 31 nights of Halloween. I don't know what we're going to be doing each individual night. It'll either be a video or a live stream.
Yep.
Hey, Jeanette Sanchez, good to see you. Blue Crossroads is here too.
Hey, Jeanette, welcome in. Hey, Blue. Hey, Pam. I hadn't seen you in a while, Pam. Good to see you.
Bacon around.
Yep.
Can y'all hear me okay? I've never used this iPhone to stream with before like this. Okay.
I can hear you glitch every once in a while. So if I say what, it's not I'm losing my hearing. It's just that you went out on me a little bit. But we got a little Leonard Nimoy to take us through Salem Witches. We've got some fantastic footage.
A little Leonard, this big.
He's tiny. He comes down, takes us down the journey. But yeah, the Salem Witches. But like I said, there's all different kinds now. If you're talking about Wicca really got its burst in the 30s, and a man named what was his name, Gerald Gardner, and he was a funny looking little man. He had this hair; he looked like a half moon because his hair would come out on the top, and it would come out. His little chin beard would come out. He looked like a little half moon, but he was basically a nudist, and then moved into a little town and got in with some nature people and basically started pulling up this older more of a manipulating energy and one with nature and grounding and all the simple things and manifesting positivity and using the earth's energy to do so in nature. And they just happen to believe that they had better energy flow when they were naked. That's just the way it was.
Skyclad. That's what the witch is called.
Yep.
And I got in trouble one time calling some people nudists. It was in Florida. They said, "We're not nudists, we're naturists." And I said, "Well, you're naked. What's the difference?"
That's true. That's true. That's what they called it then too. He got in with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. We know he was big into spiritualism, right? So he was kind of going back and forth and taking a little bit of both. Magic and just all of it. When you look at it, we give it these labels, but it's all just manipulating energy, and what you do with it is your intent. And there's good and bad in just everything. So you've got your spectrums from people just doing white magic and connection with nature and all positive things, and then you've got the other side of the spectrum, the dark side, the black magic that's in league with.
He was born a nudist.
Born a nudist, more like Satanist, and the combination of the two with the black magic and everything. It's been used all the way through. I heard an interesting story today about Gardner that in the 30s, right before the war, they actually got together and were trying to hold back the German invasion. And where they were, they did not come across that water. And it was a several day ceremony. You cannot come across the water. You cannot come across the water. And it took so much out of them that several actually died not long after that. And they did not come across the water to where they were. So that's just a trip, you know. But it's about manipulating energy, like I said, and manifesting, using your energy in accordance with everything else that has energy, whether it be gemstones or herbs or, you know, a different other things that resonate a different energy. So that's basically what it is. And then you've got everything in between, right, Steve? You know, good and bad and everything.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all
I mean,
in there.
yep. And most of the time, witches are, and again, a broad stroke when I say witches, they're always in this like Halloween thing. It's like the old hags. And now, more recently, we've gotten, even in Wizard of Oz, you had the good witch and the bad witch, you know, and the bad witch was ugly, and the good witch that used her energy for positive was beautiful and full of light. So that
Are
right
you a
there,
good
that
witch or bad?
right, and it depends on what you do with it. That's just it. It's the same as in everything. It's that simple, you know, and what you're willing to do. Now, this I found a thing from 1970. It's a hoot and holler. The whole thing is on YouTube, but it was put out by BBC as a documentary, and I've got a couple little snippets of it. But I thought it would be fun to look back because in the 70s, this one man, he spent like 30 or 40 years studying witchcraft, Wicca, and you know, this whole town that was just very um no, I wouldn't want to say open. They were still secretive, but everybody kind of knew, you know, they were going to go out in the woods, they were going to have rituals, and they were going to do this and that. And throughout the little snippets that I took from this documentary, they say some very profound things, and basically kind of what a little better than what I was just trying to say. And I thought it'd be interesting to take a look. You want to take a look, Steve? You got some stuff you want to adjust there? You doing good?
Roll that beautiful green footage.
All right, here we go. Let's see which one I've got. First, I got this one for you. This is cute as all get out. I just love it. I just love it. Who doesn't love Halloween and fall, guys? All right, let's see. Yep, there we go. The sound is a little off, but this thing is old, so bear with it.
Doreen Valiente is a witch, and she believes that witchcraft should never be approached lightly.
The amount of silly dabbling in the occult that goes on today scares me. These people think that they're doing something terribly clever and terribly with it, and it's all great fun. And what they don't understand is that they're invoking forces which they can't fathom, and they're making themselves a channel by which those forces can come through into the world.
The revival of public interest in witchcraft is one of those curious features of life today. But it's very difficult to get at the truth of what it's all about. On one estimate, there are 30,000 people practicing in witchcraft in this country alone. A more conservative figure would be 8,000. But even so, it's enough to make you think. Are there really dangers involved? Or is it all just a delusion? And if it is just a delusion, why do so many really quite intelligent people half believe in it? Just what has been going on in this country since the last of the witchcraft laws was repealed in 1951?
Witches certainly hit the headlines, often in conflict with the church. Our investigation in the end has led us to some pretty nasty evidence of blackmail, if not of black magic. But not all witches are ill-intentioned. One may pass them in the street without knowing it. They don't wear pointed hats and ride broomsticks. They look very like the rest of us and do the sort of jobs that we do.
I'm the secretary.
Well, I'm a restorer. I work in antiques in Portobello.
Oh, I've just left school. I haven't started yet.
Well, I just spray fencing most of the time.
Well, at the moment I work in a boutique, but I've been trained in the arts.
I'm a tower crane driver.
What first drew them to witchcraft?
Well, I've been interested in witchcraft since I was 10. I got into it through fairy stories and things like that.
Coming from Africa, I suppose I've always had a basic interest in magic and witchcraft, and that when I came to England, I just sort of made a purposeful search for it, you know.
The word witch originally means wise one, and this is what people try to aspire to be. They try to learn the wisdom of nature. They try to learn the meaning behind things.
Molly Moncrief, lecturer in occult subjects.
I had to work and learn it the hard way by checking my findings with all the ancient writers on the occult from time immemorial. And I found that it tallies, it always does.
I'd say to a person who really wanted to know what was the spirit of witchcraft, that they'll learn more by, say, going out on the downs at midnight and listening to the wind in the trees and looking at the full moon. They'll learn more of the spirit of witchcraft, the real spirit of witchcraft in that way, than they will by reading any amount of books. We believe in the horned god and in the goddess of the moon. Now, this doesn't mean that we're silly enough to think that the moon in the sky is a goddess. I don't think any educated pagan ever did think like that. But what this means to us is the masculine and feminine powers of nature. They're symbols, magical images. And by means of our imagination, we can make a real contact with these cosmic forces. The forces of nature, the forces of life.
And in a wood at midnight, on the night of the full moon, Doreen Valiente carried out her ritual, hoping that in this experiment, never before tried in front of cameras, some psychic manifestations might appear on the film.
Diana of the rounded moon, the queen of all enchantments here, the wind is crying through the trees, and we invoke thee to appear.
In fact, no such manifestations did appear. And this is Mrs. Valiente's final comment.
Well, it was very difficult to get the spirit of the old ritual, knowing that you were surrounded by cameras and technicians and things like that. But when the ritual was almost at an end, I began to feel the atmosphere building up, and I think other people did too. This is what the ritual really means. It isn't conjuring up a sort of pantomime demon or anything like that. It is something which affects your inner mind and works itself out in your life and in your feeling and thought. To the old ones, merry meet, merry part.
Witches often claim to put their powers to more specific use. Mrs. Eleanor Bone.
And we believe if we set our minds on a thing, we're going to get it. You know, Paracelsus said that the beginning of all magical operations is determined imagination. And this is what we set out to do. Get a mental picture of the thing we wish to achieve, and in that way concentrate on getting it.
Theo Brown, a research fellow in British folklore, refers to...
Steve, I just gotta say, I don't know what the hell was going on in the 70s in Britain, but I mean, now, don't get me wrong, what they're saying is spot on, but here we go.
Call them charmers.
Minehead don't bother me more, I've known about 17 charmers. It may be purely coincidental. They're nearly all men. They don't like reporters or anything like that. They usually talk very freely to me, surprisingly so. In fact, on one occasion, I went to see a charmer.
Swear to God, it's David Bowie's mother. What do you think? Maybe? Good chance.
Could be. I'd be David Bowie.
I was a complete stranger to him. He invited me into his house, sat me down in his parlour, looked at me very hard, and said, "You can do it, can't you?"
William Paynter is a Cornish bard, and his bardic name means searcher out of witchcraft.
Quite recently I gave a talk to some 60 children on Cornish folklore at the Liscard Secondary Modern School. And at the end of my talk, during the discussion and questions, I was amazed when 4 children, each in turn, one said, "My grandfather can charm warts. My grandfather can charm ringworms in cattle."
You ever charmed a wart there, Steve?
I have, but not like he's talking about, I don't think. I had a wart on my thumb when I was a kid. My grandmother, who called herself a gypsy witch, but she was really a granny witch, she told me what to do to get rid of it, and it worked.
Yep. It's so funny. It's just the way they're saying it, but listen to what they're saying. It's amazing.
My grandfather can stop the flow of blood when anyone's badly cut. And the 4th, my grandfather can charm snakes.
I don't know exactly the procedure, except that they make a circle around the snake with an ash stick. And because of the formula of words they use, apparently, the snake cannot leave the circle. In fact, a man I met who has seen this done said the snake lashes round and round inside this invisible circle, is quite unable to break out of it.
Again, at one period, there was a great demand for charms in bags. And here is a charm I discovered in Cornwall, hanging over a mantelpiece. It is a charm against all terrors by night. It contains the wings of a bat.
The second category is black witchcraft.
The type, I suppose, we think of when a witch is mentioned.
We all have a little witch in us. Whatever you want to call it. I love that picture. Well, there you go, Steve. Just a little bit of wisdom from the early 1970s out of Britain. A little documentary.
Just a titch of the witch. I like
just a titch of the witch. Well, that's it. Now, a lot of people, and I agree with everything you're saying. You know, if I called my grandmother a witch, and you know, kitchen witches, you hear that a lot now and stuff like that. But basically, I agree with everything people are saying here in this chat. It's basically you're a healer. You're working with herbs, you're doing, you know, healing, whether it's yourself or somebody else with energy or the earth, you know, even gardening can be considered that, you know, and I've always said that about the great witch trials, whether they were in Salem or Germany or all, you know, everybody, they're all, it was global.
My granny would weed her garden at night. And she could tell by the feel of the plant if it was something she was supposed to pull or not. But she would weed by the moon, and the weeds wouldn't grow back as soon, or sometimes not at all.
How about that? How about that? And see, a lot of that too, that what we talk about all the time, the old wives' tales, like, you know, those kind, they work.
An old wife is just a euphemism for a witch or a granny witch.
Exactly. And I think it's these labels. It's basically the labels, because what I get a big kick out of is seeing the similarities and everything, and then all these different labels put on it. But you can definitely go from the completely positive to the completely negative, you know. But then there's everything in between. Everything in between, whether it's hoodoo or voodoo or, you know, Santeria or herbal healing or Reiki or any of these things, tarot card reading, pendulum, dowsing rods, the whole thing can all be lumped together. I remember the old folks saying stuff like, "Oh, she's a witch," or she's doing that kind of thing. That's something to stay away from. And I think that kind of thing, it really does bring a hatred, an unnecessary hatred and a misunderstanding. And I'm thinking, gosh, when were the Salem witch trials?
Yeah, well, people tend
1600s?
to hate things they can't understand or can't explain.
Right.
Conventional means.
Right, 100%. And I mean, we haven't learned anything over all these hundreds of years. So basically, it's the same as in the paranormal, with ghosts and everything else. Take it one person at a time, and just because this person, the thing that gets me is healers and herbalists would heal like this, family's kids in this village. And the next thing you know, because somebody's jealous or something else, they start pointing fingers. And because everybody's just glad that it's not them, they all gather around while this person's
If your
getting
cow
burned.
went dry, it must be a witch.
Yep.
But now there were witches that would cause people's cows to go dry and things. There was all of it wasn't entirely innocent. There's a little bit of back and forth, which you're going to talk about here in a little bit, where witches do get into arguments.
But the thing that seems to be the way that even Baum wrote in The Wizard of Oz, like I said, the good witch and the bad witch, and the way the good witch appeared positive and pretty with this light, and then of course the wicked witch would appear, ugly and a crone basically. But there's truth to that, because if you send out bad, you're going to get that back tenfold, and it drains you over time, and it does create that old kind of feeling.
I
So
like
I
the
can see
wicked
where they
witch
get that.
though. Glinda was a good witch, and she wore chiffon, and she traveled in a bubble. The wicked witch lived in a castle and had flying monkeys.
Monkeys.
I like that better.
There's always the lore of it. It's like they have it better. So why can't I have the nice car? Why can't I have the guy I want? Why can't he fall in love with me? And that's how it starts. You start flipping that stuff and using it for greed and power and money or things, and it just really starts to eat away at you, really. Now there are things like this one, the first young lady here in this thing said about people dabbling with stuff that they don't understand. Absolutely, definitely. That's why I worry about younger people without a direction or somebody that they can talk to, where they have abilities, and then the wrong person gets a hold of them before you know it. They're neck deep in a Ouija board or something, or conjuring stuff that they can't handle. And that's what she was saying. It's not a game. It's not a game. And when we put out positive stuff to somebody, that works as well. But it always seems to come back to you threefold. Like, you're going to feel better instantly because you're doing something positive. Just think about how you feel when you open a door for somebody coming out of a busy, Wawa or Quick Check or 7-Eleven, whatever you have. And you just a total stranger, and they hold the door open for you. So thank you. And then you have share that little moment in time, and it makes you both feel good. That's like a tiny little spell almost, but it's a positive one. You're both sharing that space and that energy at that one time. So imagine when you start adding everything to that, and if you're sitting there and you're using spells to control somebody or get them to do something, it's like the genie and the wishes, Steve. It always goes wrong, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's hard to get that. It's like nothing comes without a huge cost. One of the ones that I like the most is that mirror spell, because basically now it's in so many different, aspects to this, all the way from voodoo, hoodoo, all that. But basically, if you've got that mirrored spell out, it's the same as that golden bubble that you can put around you. That anything that somebody sends on you, it bounces off and goes to them. And in some cases, if it's justified, it's only going to work if it's justified. And you didn't even do it. All you did was put it around, That's why I tell people, don't gossip, don't drop evil seeds, don't speak somebody's name in ill will, because you're not only spelling them, you're spelling yourself. It's like saying I can or I can't. That is one of the simplest things to show the weight of power in that. You can condemn yourself by saying I can't. So
you've already admitted defeat.
Yeah.
The power of life and death is in the tongue. You have what you confess. You can speak things to yourself, good or bad.
Yep.
And then
And
you've
when
got
it's
that
written,
sowing for reaping too. Be sure
Mhm.
you plant harvest that you want to reap.
100%, 100%. And it's like, that's why writing is called spelling. And all these different things used either for us or against us, like frequencies, like just the different music I played, put you in a different mood, as it started to build and changed in its frequency. And everything has that effect. So, like I said, I agree with everything everybody's saying as far as healers or, practitioners or people that are doing spells or, binding, even doing little herbal charms. That's kind of what we call them. And putting different herbs in there to dispel negativity or anything like that. That's a form of white magic. It's just we don't always call it that. We'll call it whatever you're comfortable with, but we all kind of do it. And essential oils, and if you like a lavender candle, let's say you don't make your own, but if you have lavender candle, you're burning that, and what you intend to do with that changes the purpose of the lavender. But it's still going to have its properties, its healing properties. It's going to be lavender. What you do with it and how you use it is your part and what your energy puts into that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I don't think that I've often said that people that got burned at the stake, I don't think they got a single real witch. If they did, they got some that were just doing what I said, healing townspepeople, probably getting the wrong look from the wrong guy, a good look from the wrong guy, and it was all jealous and pointing and, all this other stuff. Things just got crazy. I think there was a little argot poisoning going on there too with the bread, but, that's all part of it. But it was global. There was this fear, like you said, Steve. When people, the unknown, they get scared, and why anybody would go up against a full-fledged, left-handed, Satan worshiping, black magic throwing witch. It doesn't make sense that they got somebody, because it wouldn't. I don't think it would have ever happened. They could have just got together and spelled, the people, if they had any kind of power whatsoever, and stopped the whole thing. Because if people like Gerald Gardner and his group, I mean, it was 30 people, stopped the German army coming across the water where they were.
Like,
Now
remember a few
again,
years
3
ago,
of them died.
one of the hurricanes was coming in. A bunch of witches in New Orleans got together and got out in the street and did some kind of spell to protect the area they lived in, and the water came right up to the point where they had done that spell, and there everything flood, and the whole city was basically underwater.
There's people doing it right now. Whether you've all heard of it, how everything gets twisted and warped through time, and especially in history, especially our history. So much of it's lies. You have to unravel all this garbage. But one of the things you hear about Native Americans, rain dance. Well, that's a simplification of a ceremony that actually manipulates the weather, to get rain for crops. And it's the same. You could go anywhere around this, world, and pick out an indigenous tribe or, Wiccan or, voodoo, across the board, and they're going to have something similar for that. I know people right now that are remote viewers that do the same. If there's a hurricane coming, they will get together and all put that energy to push that hurricane back out to sea. And I've heard some things that have actually worked. So it's like I said, it's not a game.
Yeah, I remember one time there was a hurricane on the way from somewhere, and on the meteorology, on the weather map, the Doppler or whatever, you could actually see what looked like these straight bars of energy that came out of the east and steered that thing away from an area.
Yep.
And it was I mean, was that witchcraft? Was that magic? Was that harp? All the above? Maybe harp
Who
is
knows?
just a form of electronic witchcraft. Have you ever thought about that? The blending of the old ways and the new technology. I think you can use computers and science and electronics as a way to work witchcraft.
Yep, absolutely. So, you could try that. If you got a group together, get together to put out positive energy. I mean, even if you met like a couple times a week or once a week or something like that, and just put protection on each other's homes and children and extended family and your
That's kind of
town.
what we're doing here. We all
It
meet
is, Linda.
get chat here. There's 33 of us in here right now. We're all of a like mind, of one accord, and even the Bible talks about where two or more are gathered. You can make a change. You can send out
Absolutely.
love, make a positive. So
And this is true.
doing,
Eminem.
Electronic witchcraft right here. A little bit of witchery, maybe, or blessings, or whatever you want to call it.
That's 100% true, Eminem. I remember those, and I've got remote viewer friends and other friends with abilities and stuff like that to get together and do those kind of things and try to put your mind into doing something positive. Now, like I said, if it's a positive to get a positive result, and it's good and it's with good intent, then that's not a problem. I honestly think that those are even stronger than the other way around. And I can tell you, if you're out in the grocery store right now and you go to the impulse thing and you see the magazines, this is the time of year that the magazines start coming out. It doesn't matter who put them out, because if I told you who really owned these magazines, you'd fall over. There was a reason National Geographic was put together, and by who, and Time and all these other stuff. So that's the kind of covers I'm talking about. Well, now you'll start to see, because it's Halloween, you'll start seeing magazines that like it says witches across it, or it says whatever, and you think, oh, isn't that great? Halloween's coming. Those are
signals. I saw one the other day that I saw in the newsstand.
Those are signals. Those are signals. Those are a call to arms. Those are, if you look at each way and everything is put out. There's one out now that's actually, if you look at the cover, it's got a crow and it's got a face, and there's one eye of the crow and one eye of the person, and that's because a lot of them will send crows out to spy. And you'll see all these different things and the symbols on it, because it all comes out right now. So there's, people that gather in love and people that gather in hate, and that kind of thing. It happens all around.
Symbols are powerful. Sigil, that's kind of the same thing.
It happens all around.
Witchcraft and magic and things, you create a sigil on a piece of paper and burn that and send it up, and then use those ashes for things. Sigilism, symbolism, it's all kind of the same thing.
100%. And I know that people around your granny's time and my granny's time, ours were busy in, the Northeast, trying not to be found out as Native American, but they still did things around the house, little things here and there. And, if you don't think that sending out prayer or sending out good energy to somebody's name, that's the same type of thing. It's just what you do with it that gives it those labels, down the way. But I bet your granny had some things. I know you said that she read entrails and cards and things like that. And did she read for other people too, that in the neighborhood?
What's that?
Did she read for like people in the neighborhood that knew and wanted to come and get readings and stuff like that?
People would, a lot of young girls would come and see who they were going to marry and how many babies they'd have and things like that. Just a lot of innocent stuff. But she was pretty accurate from what I hear. I've talked to people that went to her for those things. One lady in particular was with two other girls. They were in high school. They walked several miles to go see my granny to get their fortunes told. Well, the one, she was laughing and joking. She said, I'll go along with you girls, but I don't believe in it. I think it's a bunch of hooey. And we got there, and my granny welcomed them in. And she said, well, I'll tell your fortune, and I'll tell your fortune, but I'm not going to tell yours because you don't believe in me. And she said, you could have knocked me over with a feather. She said that we walked 2 or 3 miles to get there, and there's no way she could have heard what I said. And
wow.
No way she could, but she would do things like that. She knew things that I had seen or experienced that I never told anybody about, but she knew about them. It used to scare me. I thought she could read my mind.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. And in some ways you could. I find it's easier when I'm not trying to read somebody. If I'm trying, I can read their body language and their micro expressions and things like that more. But if I'm just open and something just comes through, it's unmistakable. Like when we were doing table tipping, and I heard loud and clear, "Not anymore," because somebody had asked if she was in a wheelchair, and she was so loud and so proud about it, and it was such a happy thing, and it came through so loud and clear. And I wasn't the only one in the room that got it. It was pretty cool. But that's it. That's energy, and I just feel so bad for this whole Salem, thing. What's happened? I mean, so many in Germany, and it's just this fear. And the thing that always got me, somebody put it in a meme or something or a post a couple of weeks ago where it said, I find it odd to be in a world where they teach us to fear the people that burned alive, not the people who did it. And that's where I'm at. Where when people get together and do that vigilante, not even justice, you can't even call it justice, just to banish somebody or kill them or burn them alive, some awful things they did to these people in the name of purity, which makes no sense to me. It's like when in the Borley Mansion, when the nun and the monk got together and fell in love, and both religious groups, the first and only thing they could think of to do was to hang the monk and wall up and brick up the nun in the Borley Mansion there, so she would die a slow death. And they're both coming from supposedly places of forgiveness and ultimate love and everything else. And I think what it is it comes down to you. You're responsible for that and what you do with your energy. And if you want to put out ultimate love and positive energy, that's where you are. And then you've got that opposite on the other side, and they're constantly fighting each other. But never underestimate what a small group of positive people can do when they put their minds together. Eminem was saying it not too long ago that Art Bell did do experiences live with his audience and listeners, and every single one of them worked. So there you go. And I think that's why prayer and being in agreement with positive energy. I mean, I know it healed my son. It was a definite medical proof between the night that the doc came in and the morning the doctor came in, and the next morning when the doctor came in, he went from 15% chance of making it to an 85, just because we collected all the energy. And Steve knows, he was right there, texting and calling and everything else right along with it.
From the time that they found him, where was it behind? He's behind a convenience store or something, wasn't he?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I forgot all about that. That was crazy. But he went through a lot of stuff in Atlantic City, wound up, I think he either was attempted to be abducted in a 411 kind of way, if you know what I mean, or it was somebody else. There was something else involved there, but it was kind of crazy what had happened to him. But then he wound up getting a ride along the way. Now, where we are, Asbury Park, figure about midway, between Atlantic City and New York. So you're going to Atlantic City. It's quite a drive, hour and a half, somewhere along the line. And my other son just got this odd feeling. I'm going to go to Atlantic City. This is an hour and a half, almost 2 hours out of your way, And he's driving, and instead of taking the correct exit that you would take to go to Atlantic City, he took another one and turns around in the gas station. And when he turns around the gas station to make a U-turn, there's his brother leaning up against the gas station wall, just out of it, completely out of it.
What are the chances, that there are
That's
no
incredible. I forgot that. That's incredible. I totally forgot that. But what are the chances? And he was in dire need. And you just had two people, one sending out a signal, one picking it up and not questioning it and going, So, it's something else. Well, I got Leonard here. If you want to take a 10-minute break, or if you want to watch Leonard with us, or whatever you want to do, love. Does anybody want to see this beautiful bean footage? Leonard's always good for a good time.
Yeah, let's turn him loose.
Turn him loose. Here we go, guys. Salem Witches. Woo! Then I'll tell you my Halloween ghost story.
Spirits. If you wish to join us, give us a sign. Knock 3 times if you are there.
The woman calls herself a witch. She claims to be performing an ancient ceremony of candle magic. The power of the planets has been petitioned, and as the paper burns, a spell is cast. This rite of witchcraft is being practiced in Salem, Massachusetts, a place where people believed to be witches were once put to death. Salem, Massachusetts is richly endowed with history and culture. For most of us, it is still best known as the site of America's witch trials. The past has left a permanent mark, and Salem has come to embrace the witch, at least in some respects. The witch is the town's symbol, and also a constant reminder of a reign of fear and terror. The witchcraft hysteria of 1692 actually began here, in the neighboring city of Danvers. It was once called Salem Village. Dr. Linda Caporal is a social psychologist. She has studied the witchcraft hysteria that once swept over the people here. Recently, she visited the Historical Society in Danvers.
In December of 1691, 8 girls were afflicted with what the Puritans called distempers. These were characterized by delusions of one sort or another, by severe convulsive fits, by odd gestures, and disorderly speech.
The girls were examined and judged to be possessed.
Several months later, accusations of witchcraft were made, and these were taken quite seriously by the community, and we have the beginning of witchcraft trials.
In an atmosphere full of frenzy, the girls told the court of numerous people who they felt were in league with the devil. In 1692, witchcraft was a capital offense.
At the end of the Salem witchcraft trials, 20 people had died.
Nearly all of the victims were hung here, on Salem's Gallows Hill, now an old and deserted playground. At the cemetery in Salem lie the bodies of some of the judges who presided at the trials. Despite its terrible history, witchcraft now thrives in Salem. Meet Laurie Cabot, the city's official witch.
People commonly believe that witches are the exact definition of, that Webster's dictionary holds. And it says that a witch is an ugly old hag who cavorts with demons and devils, or makes a pact with the devil in blood. People also believe that witches probably drink blood and eat babies, and of course that's not true. The word witch comes from the words magus, magi, and the Greek word magi, which still means witch today. And the word witch, it means wise person, or seeker of knowledge, basically.
In the center of Old Salem stands a shop called Crow's Haven Corner. It's a kind of sorcery boutique, which was opened by Laurie Cabot. It has become a popular gathering place for those who claim to be witches.
Well, how's Charlie doing?
Very good, very good.
Hi. Hi, how are you? Good. Listen, did that shipment of tarot cards come in?
Yes, it did. It's in the back room.
Okay, I'll go back.
The shop has appealed to curious tourists, but it also stocks the herbs and potions that are needed by a witch.
Sure you don't want to box
No, it's fine. I'll just take them away.
Laurie's daughter, Jody, is an actively practicing witch.
Okay, it has a wonderful scent, so if the person is someone that you know or would like to know in the area, it will, just by smelling the scent of the ribbon, it will attract.
Laurie's younger daughter, Penny, will soon become a member of the coven. Laurie's coven has gathered to initiate a new witch. The initiate is Penny, Laurie's 16-year-old daughter. This rarely photographed ceremony is based on ancient rites. Today, it is an amalgam of many different practices gathered over the centuries and adapted to modern times. Laurie begins the rite by casting a magic circle around the entire coven. Each witch is then anointed.
I charge this circle to protect us from all negative and positive energies and forces that may come to do us harm. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
I draw into the center of this circle the energy of the universe and the wisdom of the pentacles.
So mote it be.
We bind your hands in infinity. We bind your creativity to the earth to aid us and help us. In the name of Isis, the Great Mother, and the Holy Maiden.
Lady Day, on quiet Lady Day, with blossoms in her hair, comes the form of the fairy maiden, leaving green everywhere.
I charge you, Penny Cabot, witch. I give you the wisdom of the universe. we give you the responsibilities of creativity, fertility, and all wonderful and good things to the earth. So mote it be.
By her mother's declaration, Penny Cabot has become a witch. As a new witch in the coven, it is now Penny's duty to perform alone a sacred ritual. In a forest not far from Salem, Penny gathers the tools to cast a spell. From pine needles, leaves, and from her witch's cord, she will summon the powers she needs. The spell will be for herself. It will focus and concentrate her natural powers of witchcraft. Her wand is a branch she has found. With it, she scribes a circle that she hopes will harness the Earth's natural powers to strengthen and protect her. Today, in Salem alone, at least 400 people call themselves witches. All are active and deeply committed.
Being a witch to me means being more aware of your surroundings, being able to use more of your mind and make the life around you work more for you and to help other people.
I became a witch because my goal in life is to raise my consciousness, and it's a tool to do that.
I'm a witch because it'll better myself and the people and animals around me.
I became a witch just by basically getting involved in all occult matters and wanting to know about other phases of consciousness, which I think is really important because we don't use enough of our brain capacity to begin with.
The best thing about being a witch is being able to use the vibrations of material things to work for you in the environment.
I can control my environment through correct thinking, through putting the correct thought into the atmosphere by concentrating.
I don't think everyone should be a witch. I don't think it's for everyone, because to be a witch is a commitment. And to commit yourself, you have to spend a good deal of your life studying, learning about the world around you, various things. If we do healings, we have to know about anatomy. You have to be willing to make that kind of a commitment, and that's not for everyone.
For Laurie Cabot and the members of her coven, witchcraft is not an idle interest. It is an integral part of their lives. At 6 a.m., most of Salem, Massachusetts is still asleep. For Laurie Cabot, it is the time when the day begins. For Laurie, witchcraft is not something dark and secret. It is power and a knowledge to be shared. She does so every morning for a Boston radio station. It's Laurie Cabot's daily Witch Report.
So let's find out what's happening out there, cosmically speaking, with the Good Witch of the East, Ms. Laurie Cabot. Good morning, Laurie.
It's Friday, June 20th. Good morning, everyone. The moon is in Libra, and the emphasis is on good manners, consideration, and tact. Venus, Saturn, and Neptune are harsh today, so hurt feelings are bound to happen. Just bliss out and fantasize a lot and wear rainbows. This is Laurie Cabot, a good witch from Salem. Remember, every ending is a beginning. And for all of us, this is law. Where we enter in, from there we must withdraw. Bye-bye.
Like most witches, Laurie believes she is expert at making potions of all kinds. When the potion is nearly done, she imbues it with her own power. This potion is for protection and meant to be rubbed on the skin.
I charge this potion to protect me from all negative and positive energies and forces that may come to do harm. So mote it be.
The potion is a pungent mixture containing sea salt, vervain, frankincense, myrrh, and wolf's hair. 3 times a week, Laurie travels to the nearby city of Marblehead. The purpose of her trip is not to practice witchcraft, but to teach it to interested students.
Welcome to Witchcraft 2 class. This is the class that you're going to learn about witch tools. It's our most exciting class, of course. It's fun to learn about mixing potions and about magic wands that everyone thinks is so frivolous. Now, the magic wand varies extremely. This is sterling silver. It has the pentacle on the top. We have potions, and we know potions are organic perfumes, and we're going to learn how to make a potion for every sign in the zodiac. We're going to also learn how to make our own little spell kit. This is a healing spell. Orange for Mercury, that's to aid healing. In here is something very simple. This is sea salt, and this is going to prevent illness. What we're going to do is teach you the culmination of all these things so that you can put them together and actually perform or put a spell together and do your magic and use your energy and your power to heal or to change things, maybe change the weather. These are very important tools for you.
June 21st for most of Salem marks the beginning of summer. For witches, it is a high holiday, a time for celebration and worship. It is the summer solstice. Laurie Cabot conducts a magic circle with her coven.
I charge this circle to protect us from all negative and positive energies and forces that may come to do us harm. So mote it be. So mote it be. On the solstice, we draw in the energy of the sun and Jupiter into this place. We allow it to circulate in this circle. So mote it be. So mote it be. I charge this chalice with the energy of Jupiter and the sun and the gift of the Great Mother Isis. So mote it be. So mote it be.
Those who today practice witchcraft regard it as a religion. It has only been in recent times that its unorthodox rituals have even been tolerated.
We ask that we be granted correctness, balance, purity, and the power of the forces in this circle for the good of all people. So mote it be. So mote it be. We now hold this energy within our bodies.
The witches now form a cone of power, uniting and concentrating their energy. Finally, the magic circle is uncharged.
The circle is broken.
If Laurie Cabot had practiced witchcraft in colonial Salem, she most certainly would have been hanged. In the 17th century, spirits, devils, and demonic possession were thought to be very real. Witches were believed to be the human servants of evil. Even so, what was the reason that Salem Village suddenly fell into a violent episode of witchcraft hysteria?
Thank you, Ted.
Dr. Linda
Thank you,
Caporal
thank you.
has carefully developed a new and compelling theory.
Since the time of the Salem trials, there have been numerous explanations as to the causes of the crisis. And these explanations include that there was mass hysteria, that there was fraud, that the girls were play acting, and that they falsely accused people. Another explanation is that there was indeed witchcraft in the neighborhood, that the girls had been involved with it and became mentally ill as a consequence of their guilt. These explanations are not really adequate because they don't address the originating causes of the symptoms, which first caused the Puritans so much concern. I think that the original causes of the girls' behavior, and behavior was what started the crisis, was eating contaminated bread, and that the bread is contaminated with a parasitic fungus known as ergot. Ergot is a fungus which grows on grain, most especially on rye, and it has a number of potent pharmacologic agents in it, especially one called isoergine, from which LSD is derived.
Was the Salem witchcraft hysteria the result of demonic possession or of a then unknown form of chemical poisoning?
The symptoms that are alluded to in the trial records are pinpricking, choking, disorderly behavior, convulsions, hallucinations. These are all the kinds of symptoms that you would expect from convulsive ergotism.
Was this the devil loosed in Salem in 1692? Today, the people of Salem seem, at least, to tolerate their witches. And the public practice of witchcraft is taken in stride. Laurie Cabot claims to have the power to radically change the weather. On the waterfront of Salem, she gave it a try.
I call on the Archangel Uriel to come and do my bidding. I call on the Archangel Gabriel to come and do my bidding. I call on the Archangel Michael to come and do my bidding. I call on the Archangel Raphael to come and do my bidding. We ask that this be granted.
The weather did change a little, but no one seemed to mind.
I don't have any objections to witchcraft in Salem at all. I enjoy it. It's good for my business.
I don't have any objection at all. I think if they want to practice witchcraft, they should be able to. I think it's great that they're doing their own thing.
The witchcraft stories that go around here draw a lot of people in.
Well, it's clear that in the Bible, the witchcraft is condemned, and the people who are practicing it are not condemned if they're willing to give it up later, but I feel like they're just postponing the fullness of life they might enjoy if they look to the true source and not just some playing into the devil's hands, which they're doing whether they're conscious of it or not.
All the witches in Salem don't give us any problems. They're very law-abiding.
People often ask me, do you think the witch trials are over in Salem, or could witches be persecuted again? And I have a feeling because of our lack of education, there's a possibility through people's belief systems that it could happen again if we do not educate ourselves well enough. People need, excuse the expression, scapegoat, somewhere to put their anger and their unexplained happenings. But if they really knew what we know, it could never happen again. We don't intend it to happen. It won't happen to the witches of Salem, I can guarantee you that.
Despite the horrifying past, witchcraft in Salem is alive and well and determined to survive. The witchcraft hysteria that swept through Salem nearly 300 years ago ended as quickly as it began. Many of the accusing girls made poignant public apologies, and Massachusetts became the first state to remove witchcraft from its catalog of capital offenses. Perhaps the worst of all demons and devils are ignorance, intolerance, and fear.
That's true, Vixen, though. Yep. There you go. Old Leonard taking us down the trail of Salem Witches. What do you think about that, Steve?
That's a good one. I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
But
when it first came
all
out.
those in search were excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them more so than others. Sometimes he'd pick something that I didn't care too much about, but most of the time it's worth watching. I've got the whole series on DVD.
I just love it. I just love it. And I'm glad we can go back and watch something like that again, because you think about these people in the 70s, what are they doing now? A lot of these people could still be alive. Hey, Cassie, welcome in. I'd like to thank Ted again for that super chat. Thank you so much. And all the conversations in the chat was fantastic. That's the thing. is, again, like I said in the beginning, everybody gets put in these groups, and stuff that we take for granted. There was parts of that ceremony. That's why I wanted you to see it. That you could pick many indigenous tribes here in America, all around the world, that do similar things, even within the church. So I had this one lady yell at me one time, and she talked about sage. She said, "Well, that's this and this, and that's evil. That's of the devil and stuff." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Have you ever been to Catholic mass?" She goes, "All the time." I said, "What do you think that priest is swinging in that brass ball? What's all that smoke coming out of there? That's herbs." So again, it's the power, the metaphysical power, and of the herbs and nature and your own energy, the energy around us, and the manipulation of that, and the combination of things, the intent. Doing a spell, there's a ritual to it. We all have rituals, whether it's how you brush your teeth, or how you pour your coffee in the morning, or how you get ready to drive your car. Rituals. And when you start adding things and then intent and putting everything together, there's a definite um, reaction, for lack of a better word, Steve, you know. And then there's bad things too, I mean, the same. But like that lady was saying, the glasses lady, I'm sure that's the one that Donnie was talking about. But she had such a unmoving thought, and the way she spoke and everything else, misunderstanding, which she doesn't realize in a lot of ways, even though you're focusing on something else, whether you're focusing on a goddess or Mother Nature or whatever, Isis, whatever you want to say, you're still manipulating the energy that's already here and within us, and it's not as scary as people made it and what they didn't understand. And I've seen a lot of people take a lot of crap for just herbs, you know, and things like that. And, I got validated again. Somebody came into the shop and she was taking something. I told her, we went through the whole thing. I'm not a doctor. You research it yourself and everything else. But I can't stand to see somebody suffering. She was in 5 weeks, and she called me at 1 and 2 and 3, then we skipped a couple. She called me at 5 weeks. She goes, "You're not going to believe this. My feet don't hurt anymore. My heels don't hurt anymore." I'm like, "Thank Mother Nature. Don't thank me. That's Mother Nature's kitchen right there. So for that could have got me, a bunch of rocks and a heavy door put on me until I screamed out more weight. But they didn't focus a lot on that Salem witch trials. I didn't want to bring all that up. I think it's horrific, really, the things that they did to these people. But time after time after time, these people would not give them what they wanted, and that was to confess against what they believed and their faith. And most of them were Christian at heart and had not turned themselves over and were not guilty of what they were being accused of. And even boy, I had his name until I went to think about it. But the man that got crushed with the rocks, and 2 days it took him to die. And they asked him if he was ready to confess, and he said, "More weight." They wouldn't go against what they believed and confess to something they didn't do. So that's a pretty strong individual, and it's a really sad story. So, the Pendle Witches, all of that, but it's alive and well today. And again, what you do with it, you can walk into any shop and you can just kind of feel the energy around you, can't you, Steve? Like if you go into a metaphysical
Absolutely.
shop. I'm sorry, you went out.
Yeah, I said absolutely. It's any of those metaphysical places, New Age shops, herb stores, places that do the botanicals.
hmm 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 It's getting harder and harder to get good dry bulk herbs that are fresh, even, for whatever. And, so if you've got a good, you can grow it yourself. Somebody in here, I think it was AJK, are you growing your own white sage, honey? And if it was you and it's flowering, if you wanted to bush out more, pinch the flowers back. So you would just like pinch them off and let all the strength go to the leaves, and then harvest it and dry it. And wrap it and string it together. Just some cotton string, you know. You could put lavender in that. You could put cedar, all kinds of things, depending on what you're trying to do. Yeah, it is. Pendle Hill is very strange. We've had some people in here talking about it, and it's an amazing. I mean, they even had a 4-year-old girl false witnessing against her own mother in that trial. I mean, it's sick, and I can't believe we have that many hundreds of years and we haven't learned, against the Native Americans, against any culture or whatever. We should be at the point where you take people one at a time. It's just it's disappointing in a way, you know. So that's the thing. I mean, even us being a paranormal podcast, people think, oh my gosh, they're, you're one of those evil people that are, no. Again, I get a lot of that, but like I said, the scary people in the black t-shirts, those are the ones you call when things get a little out of hand. Have you ever bumped into anybody you would consider that was practicing the darker side of magic there, Steve?
I've met some people that were admittedly into it, and I just not my thing, and I didn't have anything to say one way or the other. But yeah, I've known some people that not pure left hand path, but definitely the darker side.
Yep. And the thing is, again, to each their own. I mean, if that's what they're going to do, that's that's them and that's their choice, and but usually it's very, like I said, it's very materialistic and power and things like that. And I'm not talking about like this elite group that we keep talking about in the back end, like the Nazis in World War II used magic. They were into anything that would help, one way or the other. And luckily, there were people on the other side doing the same thing and putting out good stuff. So what Art Bell had going on there with his listeners about everybody combining their stuff, like Steve said, we could do it here.
They had a special occult branch that looked into that sort of thing for use in the war. Later on, if you've ever seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, that was the U.S. military using remote viewers for military purposes.
There you go, AJ. Okay, he's going to smudge the house. Now, I'll tell you, what we do is we offer, the people who taught me from my native tribe, you can do it your own way, but first thank whoever, your creator who created the sage and put it here and helped it grow and everything else. Then thank the herb for its properties and its healing properties and its protection properties, and then go from there. We do, north, south, east, west, and I always offer it to my ancestors first and thank them for, blazing this path for me, or I wouldn't be here. And then it kind of goes from the biggest to the smallest to you, and then you connect all of that power in every direction to your ancestors, to your creator, your source, everything back again. And then you and the sage are going together in that case with everybody who walks with you, all your spirit guides, and it's very cool.
These corners across the thresholds of the doors.
Yep. Make sure you open a window.
Leave it away.
Yep. Make sure you open a window or a door. You start all the corners in the cabinets, under the bed, in the closet, the whole thing. And, you can say something as simple as all negative must leave, only positive can remain, love and light, and, banish all the negativity out. And, call it by name, call it all my anger, all of my, bad energy, like when you get angry or frustrated or anxiety and stuff like that. Take it all out, and just push it out. And salt in the corners, and stuff like that, sea salt and things. It's great, and then the more specific things you get into, then you can add stuff to that if you're trying to banish something or whatever. But sage is a maintenance thing. It's not a one and done, and it doesn't work for everything, but it definitely gives you a leg up, because it helps you too. And if you can, sage yourself before you walk the house, and then do something most people don't do. Walk the property with it. Do a circle around your house or your apartment building, your car, sage inside your car. It lifts everything up nice, And just that could have got you hung in Salem, Massachusetts back in the day. And somebody in here was right. I think it was Glenn was talking about it. It happened in Danvers, just outside of Salem, but a lot of the where they burned them was right on the edge, and that's where the cemetery is. So I guess everybody focused there. It's a playground now. I guess in some ways, put something happy here. Maybe that's what they were going for, Steve. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
hard to say.
you want me to tell my unwilling battle between two.
Yeah, tell that one, and then I've got something I want to read.
All right. Oh, good, good, good. You want to go first, or you want me to go?
I'll go first if you want to.
Go
This
ahead, sweetie.
I found online, and it's written through a female lens, but it resonates with them. It's the closest thing I've ever found or read that describes my granny and that side of the family. It's called The Last of the Granny Witches.
Oh, great.
We are a peculiar breed. Our roots grow deeper than the cedars, and yet we don't know precisely where or who it is that we grew from. We are a mystery as old as these hills themselves, and it doesn't take much figuring to know we are enigmas of intentional design and destiny. God knows our names. We're not Northerners, damn Yankees to men folks Confederate influence call them, and this we know without a doubt. I myself was always preened into believing I was a Southern child, born out of notions of gallantry and romance. But the fact is, I ain't a low country belle, and I've never picked a shred of cotton or been to a debutante ball. We are not peaches, and these mountain women, of course, were not delicate flowers or distressed coquettes. In these old heirloom hills, the women are as tough as the men, and then some. There was only one person Papa was afraid of, and that was Mama. No, you're not a peach. Never mind how long you thought you were or the times your daddy said so. No, you're not. You're not easily bruised fruit. The blood in our veins is laced with old magic and the secrets of the noble savants before us. We are the last of the granny witches. The old ones, the original Appalachian queens. We're daughters of the Celts and the offspring of druids and medieval mavens and the natives of the old world craft, and we are their children. And although we are indeed as mysterious as these old hills, we still have that Celt and Cherokee elder magic in our bones. I've beheld divination in my granny's kitchen as she would foretell future events, spelled out in the remnants of black tea or coffee grounds on the bottom of a common porcelain cup. With my own eyes, I've witnessed warts and scars blown clean off the skin, with nothing more than a believing breath and a skyward nod toward the Maker. Those magic women, those healers of wounds and tellers of fortunes and hexcasters, never considered themselves anything but noble and proud and God-fearing. And it didn't bother them to be called a granny witch or a bee charmer or a medicine woman. These were gifts to them from the divine. And I recall bed sheets over mirrors in rooms where some tired soul had just given up the ghost. Nobody wants to be haunted forever, not even by somebody they once loved. And so they cover up the mirror so the spirit won't see themselves and linger around. Ain't a one of us needs a specter in the house. That's why Sister Brown paints her porch ceiling haint blue. You just never know and can never be too sure. Some folks don't know when to leave even after they're dead. And the horseshoe hanging up right above the front door won't do a thing for the spirits, but at least your luck won't ever run out. And you do such things yourself too, and likely have never spent a juncture of a thought as to why or from where or who or for what consequence. I would wager you'd never pick up a coin that's face down or cross the path of a black cat without blessing yourself, or at least thinking that you're not superstitious anyway, and you convince yourself there's no need to give that cat a second thought. And your very blood will chill when a broken clock starts a tick, tick, ticking again, for you already know what it means, and it's not to tell the time. There once was many more of us, back in the old days when it seemed like God was sleeping somewhere over on the mountain, and the old ones ruled the land and fended for themselves. But that time is long gone. We must work harder to preserve our magic. We're just fading into the background noise of technology and naysayers, and lawmen that tell us we are common simple folk and feed us pills and poverty to quiet us. I fear that we truly are the last of the granny witches, the last tellers of tales, and that will be the end of our magic. Some of us have already lost it, but that old blood still courses through my veins, and perhaps you can feel it too when a sparrow smashes against the window or the cow moves after dark. What we send out into the yonder surely comes back home to us eventually. It always has. Send out your magic. Don't be the last of your kind. We are the daughters of the Celts and the offspring of druids and medieval mavens and the natives of the old world craft. And yes, God knows our name. Tell your tales and bewitch history, just like the Mother Mountains with her ages of charm and mystery where peaches have never grown. I
I
found that
love it.
online, written by a woman
I
named
love
Anne
it.
Weiss. It was published in Appalachian Ink, an online magazine that's now defunct. But that to
Wow.
me, that's my granny's side of the family right there.
That's beautiful. It's really beautiful throughout that whole thing. And it's like, how
A
many of
little
us are
long,
there?
but I got a point there.
Yeah. Well, how many of us saw yourselves in what Steve just read? And I mean, that's the thing. You have to keep it going. We have to keep the magic alive. We have to give that natural healing, and we have to keep that alive. And all of the different things in nature is trying to tell us we need to keep listening. They people think that the world has changed and nature has changed. It's adjusted to our poisoning of it. It's so resilient, and we need to be resilient too, and remember the healing ways and the kindnesses, and and how our energy and our light can light this whole world up. We just have to keep them on, and we have to keep trying against all odds. 1600, it seems so long ago. And that's what I've been saying through this whole thing. How much have we learned since? What I've learned is to not let anybody put my light out, no matter what they think I am or who I am. I know my intent and I know what I'm doing, and I use mine for positive, you know. But there are people that use their stuff for negative, and there's that extreme, and then there's right in the middle where people, I think, start out doing one thing but then get caught up and life happens, and there's that whatever pushes you over the line. Everybody's got their own little line, but these were two of them were basically very good people. It's just they got caught up in that life thing and started using stuff for more negative reasons, and more unjustified things and more selfish things, and they started to turn, um, so I had this one friend, and she was an herbalist base. That's how we got together. And she was very much into, well, she was actually a direct descendant of Marie Laveau out of New Orleans. And she her story basically, and I found it out because I was sucked into it. I was going with her to take over while she went on vacation for her clients and stuff that came in for herbs and things like that. So I was basically training to go into her store and take her position, and then eventually become, uh, somebody that was there all the time. So anyway,
In here,
you're doing what?
that sky.
Oh wow, it's
We got a
beautiful.
storm going here.
Storm
Look at that
brewing,
sky over there.
honey. There's a storm coming. So, and that's what I walked into.
Yep,
I walked
storm
into
coming.
somebody else's storm. Is what happened to me. So she was having some kind of a fit fight with this other lady who owned another store, and both of them practicing big time. And another lady got involved, and she's also a practitioner of the dark arts. And I'm staying out of this whole thing. Meanwhile, I go to a meeting with all these people to try to, see how they do stuff at the store, the herbs and stuff I knew. And I mean, I had to like keep grounding the whole time I was there. The energy was pulling. And I'm like, okay, tell me what I got to do. I got to get out of here. So this was about 2 weeks before Halloween. And because I went there and hooked up and was talking to her so much, I had an old flip phone and it would obviously record, didn't do a lot, but it did record voicemail and stuff. So I was getting all these voicemails and it would just ring and go right to voicemail. And they would pile up while I was at work. And I'd started listening to them. I start getting these voicemails of a very far away sounding male. He would go in and out of being able to hear what he was saying and understand. There would be things like chanting on my phone, just straight chanting. I went through a lot of sage and stuff this week, I'm telling you. So I'm like, okay, well, this has got to stop. And then the voicemails from the male started getting louder, more distinguishable, I guess, as he was gaining energy. And basically, they were saying, I'm so cold. Tell her to take it off. It's so cold. And he would just keep saying how cold it was. It's dark here. Get me out. Okay. So that's basically what I could pull from it. He would repeat these things and different versions of the same thing, basically. And I got about 4 or 5 of them from him, maybe a little bit more that I could understand. Finally, I go to see her again. We had another meeting, and I'm telling her, look, man, I got this chanting on my phone. I took care of it. Is this something you're familiar with? She says, yes, I am. I know who that is. I'll take care of it. I said, well, what about this other guy? I feel like this message is for you. She said, I kid you not. She says to me, yes, I know who that is too. And be careful who the friends you choose, guys, because this stuff can happen. So she says, I know him too. That's my ex-husband. So basically, the story is this. She has been through many lives with this guy. Every time they come through together in another life, they meet up. It's wonderful chemistry, and then it's just devastation and toxicity, to the ends of the earth with these two. She had decided she was done going through life with these lives with this guy. In this life, he was a 1%er, a biker, tried to kill her multiple times, chased her around the house with an axe and chopped half her foot off. So she got a little pissed. And she put all this stuff on him so this time he would get caught. And while he was in jail, she put more on him. And basically, let's just say he passed quickly from several different diseases and ailments that she put towards him. When he crossed over, she stopped him in the in-between, what they call the unseelie fae. So basically purgatory, in the darkness, in the cold. And this guy could tell my energy and knew that if he sent me messages, I would go to her and ask her to get this off of him, which I did. I can't stand to hear anybody stuck in there, even though, again, it's not my, to judge. But she's sitting here with a half a foot telling me she put that half a foot down and told me she wasn't doing it. So we're back and forth. I said, isn't there something else you could do with him? Well, she said she would think about it. And I said, just get him out of where he is. I mean, that's not cool to hold back somebody. Isn't there something else you guys got to, I don't know voodoo and hoodoo. So anyway, she goes in and we do this ceremony where I'm protecting the outside of the circle. She's got a couple of people that are based in Native American, some Wicca, some voodoo, some other. And everybody was just there trying to help get this curse off this one woman. Yes, this all happened. Meanwhile, while she was in the middle of this and she had all the protection there, she was going to go into the unseelie fae and talk to him and get him to see if he could cross over, but tell him she wasn't going to be in his soul circle anymore, and she wanted to split from their contracts together and all this other stuff. So meanwhile, we're holding this circle and keeping it all closed and safe, so nothing else can come in and mess with it. And that was hard because their whole yard is filled with these angry people that had gathered there, mostly ex-slaves that had been there on this plantation that wouldn't talk to anybody, too angry, too agitated, and who could blame them? So it was hard to hold this circle clean. So she goes in She almost gets stuck. We've got to pull her out. And while we're trying to keep her into this dimension, when we pulled her out, the flames in the center of the fire went up, and it made um, a definite Indian brave, possibly a chief. You could only see part of the feathers and stuff. There was an old woman that reached out. The flames actually reached out. It was crazy night. It gets better. Meanwhile, I'm still thinking about going back and helping with the clients here. And she's got to deal with her ex. None of my business. And the curse came off of the lady, by the way. It was a what do you call those, Steve, when it's through the family? Generational curse.
Right.
Yeah, it took a lot of time to come off. She did. We did. Anyway, so I go back to the store. Now the phone calls have stopped. The chanting garbage has stopped. And I'm trying to get to this store, and I'm driving past it, and I have to turn down the wrong road. I'm like, well, I couldn't have missed it. It's on this road. I go back and I turn around. I come back again. I can't see the store. I can see the flags for the grand opening. I can see the first store that's out front, but I can't see this little strip mall with tiny little 3 stores in it. I can't see it. I go back around again. I'm like, what the hell happened? It was here like 2 days ago. I can't see this damn thing. There's the parking lot. There's no store. So I go home. I'm flabbergasted, and I call her and another friend, and I tell them what happened. They said, well, the other one put a cloak of invisibility on the other one's store so she wouldn't have business. And by God, it worked. The phone, you couldn't call in, nothing. And I finally said, look, I'm done with that. I said, I'll come to the last ceremony to help this poor woman with the generational curse because she needed another thing to kind of like bind and keep it off of her. And I said, I'll do that and then I'm done. And while I'm there, she tells me she figured out what to do with her ex-husband, that she wasn't going to leave him in the unseelie fay in the in-between anymore, that she gave him a choice of being in a beer bottle, his favorite beer, or something else. I can't remember what the other one was. This woman took her ex, you could see the smoke go into the bottle. She corks it, puts it in a box, wraps it in a chain, locks it, puts the key down the front of her, and chucks the box into the lake. And there he stays to this day. She put her ex-husband in a beer bottle and buried him at the bottom of the lake. So my suggestion to you guys is don't get in a fight with in between witches and Halloween. I was done. I was done. How about you, Steve? Would you be done? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had my mic muted because the wind's blowing so hard here.
That's okay. But yep, stuck her ex-husband in a beer bottle, threw him at the bottom of the lake.
Wasn't the sunset. The sunset's over this way. That was the sunset reflected in the clouds. There's a storm rolling across the mesa.
Genie in a bottle.
Back there.
You know, so what do you do? I mean, you know, you can't stop somebody from doing that mess. But so there you go. And again, you know, I think if somebody wants to be called a witch, that's something that they're comfortable with. I don't believe in calling everybody that dabbles in it all this. You know, there's so many different names. Dottie was asking what a male witch is called. It's called a witch. Warlock is something that's kind of made up, but there are people who prefer to be called that. So you can't. Nowadays, people kind of take the titles that they want, but if you get down into the basics of it, there are definitely rules and everything else. And even our little friend Gerald Gardner, he tried to get with Aleister Crowley because they had similar beliefs. But when he spent an afternoon with Crowley, was going to try to help him get, you know, his little the stuff he was doing more prominent and out in the public. And he got with Aleister Crowley, and they just did not mesh up. He wanted to stay in the positive, and Crowley was obviously so dark, so deep in the dark, he couldn't hardly see him. So he got out of there. But so they were positive and negative were, you know, clashing back then. It's clashing now, and it was clashing back 1600 and probably thousands and thousands of years ago. It's a never-ending spiritual warfare, I think. But you know, that doesn't mean to give up the fight, right, guys? So, Steve, that was beautiful. What was the title of that again?
Last of the Granny Witches.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So look that up, guys, if you want to read that. That was fantastic. And this was a little bit of a different take on things, but I'm sure you can kind of look at this and see how it's kind of going into your lives now. Don't give up what you're doing and what you love and what's working for you, whether it be tarot cards or, you know, reading palms or entrails. I mean, you know, please get only consensual entrails, please. Don't go around, you know, getting those, breaking the law and stuff. Just, you know, I don't know where one gets them. I guess if you're on a farm or whatever, but reading tea leaves and scrying into a well or a bowl of water or a mirror or anything else, you know. And if you're doing stuff for grounding, fine. It's all the intent and what you do with it, you know. Hey, be kind, and what you do with it. And I think in this chat, we can combine prayer and positive energy and positive thoughts and light and everything else and still aim it at the same quest and get a positive reaction. You know, we've we've sent that out to a lot of people who needed healing, and a lot of people just needed a hug. You know, so don't let anybody tell you you can't do that. You know, but like my friends on Halloween, they were using their stuff, and they went at it for quite a while. You know, bank accounts were getting messed with, and you know, car accidents and everything else. Once I saw that once I did see the building, I was done. I'm like, you guys are using this for something totally different, and I felt much like Gardner must have felt when he went and saw Crowley. You know, yeah, probably AJK, but but there you go. Don't let anybody put a label on you. Do what you feel is right with the right intent. If it's something positive for somebody, it's always good. But again, you know, be careful doing little things that we've come used to, like gossiping and you know, what do they call it? Kids now call it doxing and all this other stuff, and they're swatting each other, and you know, all there's so much hate going on right now. Just, you know, keep your head down, keep positive, keep your light in your way, eat the good cookie, and don't let the old ways die. You know, like the poem or the story that Steve read. I don't mind being called a medicine woman or, you know, an herbalist or uh, any of those things. You know, I can remember being in a powwow circle one time and somebody said, "Do you consider yourself a green witch?" And I said, "I don't consider myself a witch of any kind. Not that, you know, I have anything against them. It's just what you consider yourself as well, you know." So put it out there and keep healing and keep making the poultices and keep growing the sage, AJ, and keep sage in your house and yourself. And, you know, but do something that's even more important. Teach the kids. Teach them how to garden, teach them how to grow, teach them how to heal, teach them how to care and respect each other and love one another. And, you know, love is the first, you know, the first emotion to healing to begin with. So start there and spread as much of that as you can around. Steve, you got any closing words for this wonderful group here?
Just we've had a wonderful time tonight to discuss some stuff here. I hope you can hear me over the wind.
I can hear you. It's so windy. You're blowing the witch apart. Look, she can hardly stay on the broom there, Steve.
Yeah, fighting it over there on the mesa. So yeah, we got a storm coming in. It's monsoon season out here in the desert. I actually enjoy it. I like to sit out here and got a tin roof over my patio back here, and like to hear the rain
Rain
on
on the
that.
tin roof.
Feel the breeze and stuff. Just Sandy and I sit out here a lot at night, sometimes all night, and work on stuff, write on stuff, and figure out what we're
I'm
going to do
so
next.
jealous. I want to come out there with you. I bet y'all are just putting your heads together and conjuring up. Hey, see what I did there? Conjuring up all kinds of good ideas. You know?
Cold out here at night. We've got a little space heater. I've got a Sherpa blanket. Pull that up over me and sit out here and have a powwow.
Oh wow, that'd be great. That's great. You have your sweat lodge. If I came out there, I could build you a sweat lodge in about 3-4 days. You got any sticks?
Oh yeah, I got cottonwood trees. Got all kinds
There
of
you go.
stuff here.
There you go. Something special. Well, thank you, buddy. What you got coming up this week?
We've got some surprises in store if we get them finished in time. There's stuff on the way with 13. Just be patient, and as always, stuff coming up on missing persons and mysteries. So look for it. Got some really neat stuff coming up.
That sounds great, man. That sounds great. Well, listen, guys, we're out of here tonight. Don't let anybody put your light under a bushel basket or whatever they say. Don't let anybody blow your candles out and everything else. Go and be what what you're best at. Use your abilities. Uh, send that out to this world right now because we need all that light. Okay, and as far as Halloween, Steve, we're gonna get together and with Sandy and see if we can't do something and send them over here to listen to the Cabin 22. For those of you that
She's
have not
got
heard it,
boxes and boxes of decorations. And then we went
yeah,
out the other day, a couple $100 more worth of stuff for inside and out. So, yeah, Halloween's coming. Get ready for it. Yeah,
yep, they
there's a
see
lot.
some lightning behind you too.
Yeah, somebody said my beard was blowing sideways
Well,
there.
it's
There's a
good to see
cottonwood
you, buddy.
tree behind me here, and then there's lightning over on the mesa over that way. I
Yep,
see some.
yep, I see it too. Yep, yep. Well, you be safe out there. We don't need you getting a lightning struck and having more stories to tell us here tonight. Thank you guys, everybody that gave super chat. Please go in and hit the like. Thanks to everybody who's been going under the videos when they're posted and commenting. That really helps. Thank you. And thanks for the conversations in there. I'll say it again. If during the week you guys need to reach out, I see them all the time. I get a notification, and I think you guys too when you get, when somebody answers your comment or replies. So that's also a way to communicate. If anybody needs to tell us some news or some wonderful news, somebody in here was having a grandbaby, and lots of good things happen in the world too. So share that or share what you thought about the show. And we got so many things coming up. Halloween again, the Halloween week. We're going to listen to Cabin 22. If you haven't heard it, um, I think you're going to like it. And for those of you that have already heard it, listening to it again, you're going to get all that little in between stuff and all the nuances and stuff that's in the background there
It's
and help
almost then
out
you could listen to it a half dozen times, and every time you'll pick out little bits and stuff that you may have missed or that may
a
have
little something
a different
different.
importance to you now than it did back the first time you heard it. So you definitely
Here's
want to
a
watch it.
Here's a real quick little intro. If nobody's seen it, we got some new people in here tonight. I'll show it real quick. The only thing that's not correct on this is it's not going to be 6 weeks. It's going to be 5 nights. So that's on the end here. So that this Halloween is going to be in 5 nights. We're going to watch it all live together. Here we go, real quick, and then we're out. Well, there you go. Halloween's coming faster than you know, and it's your birthday, Steve. We're gonna have a good old time, and everybody playing your costumes and dress up. If you want to call in, you can. If you don't want to show your face, you don't have to. You just put the icon up, tell us a ghost story, and see if we can't work up something with Steve and Sandy to do live, so we can share your trick or treaters for us who don't have any, and bring candy and bacon caramel popcorn and Mrs. McGee's apple pie moonshine. Well, my friend, another week gone by. It's so good to see your smiling face and how wonderful
Yeah,
you look.
good to be here to all these wonderful people in the chat. Just love, peace, and light, folks. Make cornbread, not war.
Amen. And keep your feet under the covers and keep your closet doors shut because there are things that go bump in the night. Good night, everybody. Stay sweet.